My name is David Morris, and I'd like to relate a little of the story of my life as to how I became so interested in geology. Growing up in Huntington, West Virginia, as a child, I was constantly outdoors collecting piles of rocks, and they always fascinated me, color, texture, and so forth. And around the age of 12, the family started to watch The Wonderful World of Disney every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. My most favorite parts of those programs were the films of the Western National Parks, Grand Canyon, Death Valley. And I remember clearly sitting in the living room. I was 12 years old watching this one thing on the Grand Canyon, and I said to myself, I have to go there. I wanted to go in by myself. This is a non-maintained trail. Only the Bright Angel and the Kaibab are maintained. Most of the time you have a permit, it's just where do you camp. You can hike anywhere you want. But when you leave those two trails, you're in a wilderness setting. You have to have a permit to be there, not just camp, but to actually be there. And Harvey has hiked more of the canyon than anybody else. There's one particular point, the trail is right along the edge of the river, on the south side of the river. And it comes to a point where the cliff starts to rise again. And the recommendation is when you find this point where suddenly there's this cliff in front of you, go right and follow. There's these trail markers, they're called cairns, C-A-I-R-N-S, and they're roughly pyramid-shaped stacks of rock that are trail markers. He said, when you see those markers, and he even said, I built one of them, go up slope, get above the river, because you'll end up coming to a place where the ledges are 6 inches to 12 inches, and the river is right there, right beside you. And there's not a lot of room to turn around. In fact, if you go far enough, that cliff will end and there's no way to go any further. But what's there is a spring that has a high salt content. It's called Hopi salt. This is where the Hopi go to collect salt that's used in their religious, their spiritual ceremonies. So that's why they go there. And I had a picture of the cairn. I wrote it down. It was on my map. It was in my field notes. And I walked right past it. I missed it. Actually, there's two of them. I missed both of those markers and continued on one of those little ledges. The only problem with doing this is that upstream is Glen Canyon Dam, hydroelectric dam. And when Los Angeles or Phoenix or somebody needs more electricity, the dam operators open up the valves, the water rushes through, generates electricity. The big problem for hikers is if you're in that canyon trying to hike those little ledges and the dam begins to develop more electricity, the water just slowly rises. This isn't a wave, it's not like a flash flood. But it just slowly rises until all of a sudden where you've been walking was dry. It's now under 6, 8, 10, 12 inches or more of water. And I got caught in that. And I turned around. I don't know what the distance was or how many weeks it took, because it was an eternity as far as I was concerned. To be walking with water that was coming up, at one point it was at my knees. And it looked like I was going to be up to my waist before I was able to get out. And I was right on the verge of taking off my backpack and throwing it in the river, because if I didn't, I'd drown. Unfortunately, not that many steps later, the canyon opened up. Hey, there's the trail markers. So I went up. You have all the information in the world and you still miss it. It's just And I'm happy to be happy to be alive. So anyway, Harvey was a great help to hikers. He was a natural-born hiker. He was a self-trained geologist, was very, very knowledgeable in what he did.